welcome back to another video. My name is Laura. If you're new here, I live in New York City currently and I'm dancing at Broadway Dance Center in professional semester. And I'm having a great time. I'm about 2 weeks in. I don't know when this video is going to get posted. I've already danced a bunch today, so the sweat curls are here. But we're just going to sit down and have a little chat about taking care of your body as a dancer. Everything I say in this video is stuff that I personally do, not every single day, but there are things that I implement into my routine just to maintain a healthy and strong body while I'm dancing like for hours a week. So none of this is medical advice. I am not a nutritionist, a doctor, or like anything of that. I am certified in stretching, so that's the only thing I can take a little bit of like credit for. But everything else, these are just things that I personally do. Doesn't mean you have to do them, but if you're an athlete or a dancer, or you're just interested in to see how I do things, stick around. My first tip for you is to know your body. And so basically what this means is you can hear all these different things, like you have to drink this much, you have to eat this much, you have to eat this food, you have to like stretch this many times a day, you have to do this before a workout. You can hear all these different things and you can try them out as long as they're like scientifically backed up and they are safe to do. You can try out all these different things. Some things totally might not work for you. Some things might work great for you that maybe it's not suggested that you do that. But that's where it comes in, like knowing your body and knowing what you feel best in doing, how you feel strongest, how you feel most fueled, and all that sort of thing. So tip one is to just know your own body. The second thing I do to take care of my body is to eat enough, and to eat enough real food, but also making sure I take a focus on protein, because if I just like eat what I normally do, I will most likely not get enough protein. Currently, I don't do any sort of like meal planning or tracking or anything. I just eat until I feel satisfied, and then from there, if I am hungry in between meals, I'll grab a bar. If I'm not hungry, I won't. So I just kind of try to listen to my body, but also making sure that I am eating enough to fuel myself throughout dance days. So like especially in between classes, like grabbing an orange, beef stick, protein bar, all those things. Those are things that I try to implement. And then also, some ways that I like to get my protein in is to make sure you include it in your breakfast. So currently, I don't like to cook right now because of the dorm situation. So I just always make sure to have a Greek yogurt, full fat, tastes way better, or a cottage cheese because they both are super high in protein. And then I add collagen to my coffee, and that just helps get that protein in. I also sometimes do like a coffee mocha protein shake situation. So when it comes to food, I try not to stress about it. I just make sure I'm eating real food, so fruits and vegetables, like real meat. I'm eating stuff that I enjoy, so I also include dark chocolate or like pizza for the weekend or like all these different things. I just try to keep everything balanced and just be mindful about how I feel. Like if I know that if I have a burger and fries before dance, I ain't gonna feel good. Like I'm just not gonna feel fueled. But like if I'm out with friends, then it's gonna be great because it just depends on the situation. Consult a dietitian or a nutritionist or do your own educated research to get specific advice, but to make sure that I have good snacks all the time. These are some of my favorites. I have these beef sticks, which I get in the mail because everything here costs way too much. These are grass-fed beef sticks. The other thing I've been using is Built Bars. I've seen these all over, like a lot of people are sponsored by them. So I went ahead and bought a pack from Amazon, and they're low-key, like really good. They taste like chocolate bars. They aren't the cleanest like brand, like they have natural flavors and like they just have some like weird stuff in them. They're not as bad as other brands out there, and they taste really good. So like I've always had trouble finding a protein bar that tastes good, that isn't filled with crap, and like that I actually want to eat. And for right now, this is probably one of the best out there. I always have these. I don't have any right now, but I normally have like a banana or a little cutie orange in my bag. You know what I was gonna say it. Tip number 3 is hydration. This is my water bottle. I have been using this for like 4 years. And I love it. Normally I drink 2 of these a day, which is about 80 ounces. This is not medical advice, this is just what I do. Recently I've been getting a lot of cramps, and because of all the walking that I'm doing, I felt I needed more hydration. So I don't actually know how many of these I drink a day. I basically just fill it up every time I have access to clean water, and then I just try to drink as much as possible. And then on the lines of hydration, I also take one of these on dance days. This is an SOS Daily Hydration. Has electrolytes to kind of help balance hydration and electrolytes. Then the other thing I do, which is what I'm drinking right now, is I drink coconut water. Coconut water is really stinking good, and if you mix it with orange juice or ningxia or like any sort of, I don't know, healthy other stuff, it's really good. And then I mix it with this. It makes a really nice little mocktail situation. Tastes great, helps just get some extra hydration, but this will do nothing if you're not drinking real water, so please drink real water. Also, just a little side note, I never drink coffee on an empty stomach or without like having a bunch of water before, because one, it spikes your cortisol, which makes you kind of anxious if you don't have food before to like help the caffeine. And then the other thing it does is it's a diuretic, so it actually pulls water in, so it can dehydrate you if you're not drinking enough water. So tip number 4, my personal favorite thing that I do to take care of my body is my foam roller. I love this thing. It's made from recyclable materials. It's super cute and it is amazing. So I roll out, personally, feels best to roll out in the morning. I like to pop my back on this, and then it just kind of like gives you a self massage basically. It's great because it's really good for your muscles. And then in addition to this, I stretch. Stretching is wonderful for you. If you are an athlete, you have to stretch. I don't care if you are a swimmer, a football player, a dancer, a cheerleader, or a gymnast, you have to stretch. If you don't know how to stretch, search it on YouTube. You have to stretch before you work out, and you have to stretch afterwards. Not every single time. Like, I personally don't stretch. I always stretch before dance, but I don't always stretch after it. Maybe when I'm sore I do. So knowing how to stretch, knowing the difference between dynamic and static stretching is really important, because they have different purposes and they can either help you or they can hinder your dancing. So for example, warm-ups, you do dynamic stretching. That means you lengthen the muscles through movement as opposed to just popping a split and just like chilling there, because that can actually increase injury risk. And then after a workout, so post-workout, is when you want to stick to the static or the more like deep stretching. Now, if you're a contortionist, there's a little bit of different stuff there, but for the majority of people, for me personally, like before dance, I do the splits eventually, but I don't just like sit in splits and call it a warm-up. Like, that's not how that works. Yeah, my 4th tip is utilize stretching and massaging. Utilize little things like this. Oh, this is a little Pyoba ball. I roll out my feet with this. I use this under my glute to like loosen all that muscle up. I use it on my back, push into it here. This thing is amazing. You can also use a tennis ball, especially for dancers. Your feet get really tight. So I use this all the time. It pretty much never leaves my bag. My 5th tip is totally optional. This is just something that I like to do. So I like to make sure that I wear things that are promoting warming up, protection, like all these things. So a couple of things that I own that I do wear pretty often. This is my Jelly Bend back warmer. It basically hugs your lower back and spine and helps you warm up, helps prevent injuries, and it just keeps everything nice and gives you really great support. I love these things. I'm gonna link everything that I'm talking about in this video down below, so if you're interested in like 1 or 2 things, go check them out. But like, I love this thing. I wear it all the time, especially for contortion, anything like that. Another thing I wear into ballet class is a leg warmer. That's pretty grody. I got this one on Amazon years ago. Used to have a sibling, but now it's just one. And then another thing I wear is a knee pad, because my knee just doesn't do great, so I have this just in case. So these are just a couple of things that I wear while warming up, while dancing, just to help take care of my body while I'm doing specific things. My 6th tip, and the 6th thing that I like to do, is to make sure you are getting adequate rest. Now, this can include sleeping, like literal just getting a good amount of sleep, whatever that looks like for you. It can also mean like taking time for yourself or to be with community, because that's really important, is to make sure that you are doing stuff outside of dance. And so things like baths, reading, walking, like going on walk, doing yoga, stretching, like all these things are taking care of your body, but they're restful things. So it's like, by rest, I don't mean like sitting on your bed for 6 hours watching Netflix. That is not necessarily restful. Maybe if that's what you like desperately need, do that. But for the most part, I know that if I like just sit on my phone and call it rest, I'm not going to feel productive, and I'm not going to actually end up feeling rejuvenated. So things that are like intentional rest, I take baths all the freaking time, and I watch a movie while I take a bath. I just like to do that. Make sure you are resting. I personally also take Sundays off just to keep that one day of like, this is the day that I am resting. My 7th tip is taking care of your body also means that you have to take care of your mind and like your emotions. And if you aren't in a great place, like figure out what is going on. When it specifically comes to dance, there's a couple of things that I do to take care of my like mind and my person, not just my body. I have to make sure that I am doing other things other than dance. If I am literally only fully absorbed in dance, and like that's my life, I would be miserable. but I have a community, I have a church, I have friends, I have literally the greatest fiance in the whole world. Also, side note, we got our engagement photos back and they're so beautiful. I'm like obsessed with them. Anyways, having other things in your life that you are passionate about is going to help like lighten the effect that dance has on you in a way. Does that make sense? Like, not that I don't have bad days in dance where I'm like really angry at myself or like, you know, getting down at myself because I couldn't do this one thing. I still have those, but like I'm able to bounce back quicker because I have my faith and I have these other things that are a part of me, that dance is not the only thing. So if like dance kind of falls flat this one day, it doesn't destroy me. So taking care of yourself as a person, especially entering into a classroom and just like the pressure that that can have on you from the teacher, from the students, from yourself, just being mindful of that. Some other things I like to do are journaling, and I like to take notes from class. So like say, oh wow, that class sucked. Try to find one thing that you learned that you push yourself in and write it down. I do that sort of thing to just kind of help my mind, which in turn does help your body because it lowers your stress. Tip number 8, this is one that I am personally still working on, but it is working out outside of dance. Now, like dance classes are great, and especially if you have a good studio or a good program, you're going to be getting a lot of conditioning throughout your dance classes. And so like right now I'm getting so much conditioning at dance that I don't necessarily have to do a ton at home. But for instance, like last semester, the classes I took were mostly like choreography and just like running stuff. And so if I wasn't doing Pilates or like ab workouts and cardio, by cardio I mean going on really long walks, I don't run, or doing like dance cardio, you have to do these things outside of dance, because once you get into like rehearsals and if you're not doing classes, then you're gonna start feeling untrained and like your body's not gonna super know what it's doing. So just making sure that you are working out like sports specific things outside of class. So whatever that looks like for you. My 9th tip, I kind of already touched on this, but it's always warm up. There is no excuse to why a dancer should not be warm before executing something. Now, if like a teacher does not warm you up, one, that's a failure on their part, but also it's now your responsibility to warm yourself up. So when you're standing at the side waiting for a group, or speak up for yourself. Like there have been times when a teacher has just been like, okay, ground gyrate across the floor, and I'm like, I'm not warm, I'm not doing that. Respectfully, please be respectful, but also take care of your body. Don't just like throw yourself into things if you are not warm. If you have good teachers, they should always warm you up. Where it gets a little bit cloudy is like rehearsals and stuff like that. When it comes to like professional settings, you're responsible for warming yourself up. So make sure that you are doing that. For a warm up, you should always do a little bit of cardio. You should always do dynamic stretching. You should always do some strength training. And then the last one is make sure you're doing your sports specific warm up. So like my warm up for contortion is very different from my warm up for ballet, because when I'm doing ballet, I don't actually want my back to be like blah, and like be able to like bend in half. Like that's not what you want. So making sure you know what sport you're about to do and warming up for that specifically. Always cool down as well if you are able to. This is one that I'm still kind of like don't always get to do because like life is crazy, so you don't always have time to cool down, but even just like taking like 3 deep breaths in after a long dance thing. When you can, add in a cool down. It'll help with DOMS, which is delayed onset muscle soreness, which is like, you know, the soreness you feel 24 to like 48 hours after doing something. Tip number 10 is to use ointments and balms and like massage things, therapy things for part of your recovery. I always keep this in my bag. It is Badger Balm Organic Floor Muscle Rub. I use this on my feet all the time. I use it on my knee. I use it on like my calves, or if I need to like massage out my traps get really tight, so I'll like rub some of this on. Smells incredible, really great for you. And then another thing I like to add, well, I like to just smell lavender, but I also add lavender and peppermint to my baths just to kind of like create more of a therapeutic environment. They aren't going to cure you, but they really will help. Be careful with things like icy hot or like numbing stuff, because if you're really injured, you don't want to dance with like a numb foot because you're gonna injure yourself more. Like if you have a sprained ankle and you numb it, that pain is there to tell you that you're injured, like your body, you need to stop. And so if you cover that up by taking like Advil or icy hot or something like really strong, you could be injuring yourself more. take that as it is. If you're in like an extreme performance where you're like, I literally cannot miss, go for it, do what you need to. But I personally avoid things like Advil or painkillers, and I stick to my natural cayenne rub. And finally, my last tip for you to take care of your body is to acknowledge and be grateful for your body. Now, I am a Christian, so for me, gratitude looks like prayers that are like specifically saying, thank you, God, for giving me a body that is able to move, that is able to train, that is able to do freaking hard things and recover from them and like continuously grow. Like that is such a cool blessing. So I do believe that part of taking care of your body is expressing gratitude. If you're not religious, I still think you can express gratitude for like the body that carries you through life. It can also be really difficult to do, especially as a dancer. You spend the whole time fixing your body and like staring at yourself to make yourself look a certain way, shapes and like lengthening and all of these things. And so it can get so easy to never even acknowledge the fact that you should be grateful that you are able to do this. So again, this is one that I am still working on. If you enjoyed this type of a video where it's more like sit down and chill, let me know. If you want to see a day of my life as like a dancer, also let me know down in the comments below, because I don't want to make a video that you guys don't want to see. And I will link everything that I talked about, like all the little products that I use. If you have any questions that I might be able to like point you to a resource or like help answer, drop those down below too. Thank you so much for watching this video. Don't forget to subscribe to the YouTube channel, give the video a like, and share it with a friend if you enjoyed it. Like that would mean the world to me. And I will see you all in another video. Bye.